Okay. So, Simerdeep, hi. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Okay. So, folks, we have Dr. Simerdeep Singh Gupta today. He is the co-founder, CEO of Anziva Pharmaceuticals, which is based out of US. He has before Anziva, he has more than 10 years experience working with Teva. And he did his master's and a PhD from US. We will know more about from him. So, Samardeep, all to you. We can start with your experience in US with your master's and PhD. Tell us about that.
Again, Anirudh, thanks for having me. This is like a fun platform, and I'm glad to be part of this. My experience in the US actually began with my master's um, admission at St. John's University, in that's in New York. So I came to St. John's in 2007 as a master's student, and at that time it was a non-thesis program that I was in. So it was no research. It was not research based, just non-thesis. So you come take coursework, and eventually, if you want to get into a managerial role or get an MBA after that, that was the initial intention of getting in that program. Um, but quickly, what I realized is that the academic side of things was fun, but a professor of mine, his name is Emilio Scolanti.
Mhm.
During one of the journal clubs, he picked me up from the group, and I may have made some good points. I don't know, maybe. But he picked me from the group and asked if I would be interested in joining his lab
Mhm.
as a research student. So I went to his lab and saw what was going on, and the lab was mainly focused on nanoparticles for brain targeting. So the intention was to reduce the formulation of those nanoparticles, the size of the
Mhm.
nanoparticles to sub 200 nanometers, so they can accumulate more around the blood-brain barrier or the
Mhm.
vesicles around the brain, and to improve the brain uptake of some drugs, some model drugs, which were mainly Alzheimer's drugs at the time.
Mhm.
So that was my first step in the US as a master student, and I really enjoyed myself because coming from India, that's where
Mhm.
I'm from originally. It was mostly theoretical heavy learning that we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was mostly like by hearting material and then giving exams, and
Exactly.
it was very the focus on application was much less. But when I moved to the US, that was the one difference that I saw is that, yeah, academics was important, but also application was uh, equally important.
Mhm.
And that's what I enjoyed actually, because the time that we spent in the lab, we used to spend almost days and nights in the lab, even sleep in the lab, working on different projects. And that was the best time I think that actually got me started into application-based science. And then I actually enjoyed it so much that I joined the same university as a PhD student as well. So I got my master's degree. I got a thesis program, obviously, and my project was nanoparticles for brain targeting. And I successfully defended that thesis. And then I joined a different professor. His name is Abu Sirajuddin. He's from Novartis.
Mhm.
I joined his lab because his lab was doing slightly different sort of research. That was for my PhD. His lab was mainly focusing on formulation in terms of solubility enhancement. And that's what my focus was in his lab. Initially, I spent about 6 or 7 months developing microemulsions for solubility enhancement, but seemed like the lab was a bit crowded with such projects.
Mhm.
So another project came about was on melt extrusion, but again, that lab was not set up. We just had the equipment in the box, and my professor asked me or asked the lab actually, is anyone who wants to volunteer to work on a project on melt extrusion for
Mhm.
solubility enhancement? And for some reason, I said yes. So it was fun. I was working by myself, developing or actually building the lab from scratch, figuring out how to use that equipment, and eventually. one thing led to another, and then we ended up getting like a grant from Catalent
Mm-hmm.
for my PhD project, and I finished my PhD actually in the record time. It was in like less than 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So I basically spent days and nights in the lab, slept on the lab floor just to get the data for that company, and that actually pushed me into getting my PhD in a very short period of time.
And in
And
PhD, then what was your thesis?
it was on solubility enhancement by
Mm.
melt extrusion. And what
Okay.
we were doing was we were correlating rheology to the
Mm-hmm.
processing of those solid dispersions.
Mm-hmm.
So the program at St. John's is a bit unique. Usually, you see that the programs, the pharmaceutical sciences programs, are either formulation heavy or
Yeah,
pharmacology heavy.
yeah, yeah.
The good mix of the program that we had at St. John's, it was called industrial pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically a combination of formulation and processing.
Mm-hmm.
So we were doing everything from coming up with a recipe or designing a product or formulation to to evaluate the processing parameters
Yeah.
to get a successful product out. So we were
Mm-hmm.
looking at both formulation and processing. And that's where I got like early exposure to stability analysis and all those things as well. Because we were not just doing like the formulation work, but we were doing the whole thing all the way
Mm-hmm.
that could have led to a commercially viable product.
And this was the same project with the industry, or this was different and industry project was different?
It was a project by industry, but
Oh.
not for a client.
Okay.
Catalan CRO.
Yeah.
So what they wanted to do was they wanted to build a database of understanding of melt extrusion
Mm-hmm.
as a technique for solubility enhancement.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
they gave me and my professor $200,000 at the time
Mm-hmm.
to work on my PhD so I could generate data that is useful for them,
Mm-hmm.
which in turn they could use for their servicing their clients better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sounds interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we did initially, like rheology, melt extrusion, solid dispersions, trying to figure out the best process. And during that time, we published a lot of papers as well.
Okay.
And after that, actually, my during my PhD itself, I got introduced to someone who was interested in what I was doing at the time. I was also developing some. I had a lot of side projects. So
Okay.
it was like
Okay.
this was one main project, but I was doing a lot of things on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them that I was doing was making these 3D printed tablets.
Yeah.
We were using a 3D printer, and this was back in like 2012, 13.
Okay.
So this we took a 3D printer to print out a tablet and see what's release profile and all those things, and
Mm-hmm.
we were looking at geometry and all. So there was this company which was interested, and a group that was interested in what I was doing, and I even at that time I had this entrepreneurial sort of side to me to start my own company and see if I can make this big, the 3D printed tablet side. But for some reason that did not materialize, so I had to like I joined my professor again, the same professor from my PhD as a
Mm-hmm.
postdoc as well. So I was with him for another year as a postdoc to
Okay.
develop some other technologies to see if we
Good.
can take them as a spin-off from the university as a company.
So, somebody tell me more about this 3D printed tablet. I mean, do you see the market now, or you see it in the future, or it's like nowhere now?
From what I know, again, I've sort of kept myself updated as to the technology, where
Yeah.
it's going, and what the market has to offer now. But I still feel like the technology itself is pretty slow.
Uh-huh. Okay.
If you have to compare with a tableting machine that's
Yeah.
commercially
Yeah.
available, that can spit out 2 million tablets in an hour.
Oh, correct.
As compared to that, if you 3D print something, you'll barely get 100,
Yeah. True. True.
right?
True.
So in that respect, 3D printing from the technology side is a bit behind
Mm.
right now. But in future, do I see promise? Absolutely.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to personalized medicine,
Yeah.
3D printing would be a um, big addition to what we have in the in the market today. Like, for example, let's say if you have a headache, you take paracetamol or Tylenol or something, 500 milligrams,
Yeah.
right? So you will take 500 milligrams, your wife will take exactly the same amount of 500 milligrams,
Yeah.
or maybe you on one day have a headache and you take that same medicine that you will take for, let's say, your knee pain the next day. So you do not need 500 milligrams because that drug, only a fraction of that drug is going to the site of action. The
Absolutely.
remaining drug is in your blood, your eyes, brain, heart, everywhere, all organs,
Yeah.
and that's not needed. And that goes, the same thing goes with any other drug that's in the market now. So very little amount that actually goes to the site of action, and rest everything that is available or is not needed is causing side effects.
Yeah.
So if we have 3D printed tablets, we can actually pinpoint exactly how many milligrams of that drug we need. For example, I would need 498 milligrams, for example, and you may need 350 milligrams of whatever indication you have. So you take a prescription to the pharmacy or chemist and ask them to print a tablet for you, and that will be specifically for Anirudh or for Simerdeep or anyone else. And that will be the future of medicine. That is personalized medicine with being dose specific and also um, the reducing the side effects for the patients.
I know it definitely sounds cool and it is advantageous as well. Only as you said, it needs to scale up. Otherwise,
Exactly.
yeah, competing with the current tablet manufacturing, it won't be there.
There are a lot of benefits, but a lot of hurdles as well. So yeah, it may not be an easy penetration in the market, but I see promise in future, definitely.
And so moving on, after your postdoc, you joined Teva Pharmaceuticals in US.
Correct.
So,
So go ahead, please.
no, so how was your experience? And I suppose you worked there on different kinds of dosage form?
Right. Initially, I was hired at Teva for my background in solubility enhancement of solid orals and the rheology background that I had. So during my course at Teva, I was with Teva for almost 10 years. And during that time, as a lead and side projects, I had developed almost 35 products for them. And the initial products that I had developed for them were mainly solid orals, tablets, capsules, chewable tablets for pediatric use, and those and similar products on those lines. And most of them were generics. Some of them are 505(b)(2)s, which are new therapeutic entities with new indications or new either dosage form or action that they can that they have on the patients.
Okay. And so from Teva, now coming to your latest date, that's Anziva. Tell us first what Anziva means, the name means.
Anziva is actually an anagram of my son's name. My son's name is Nivaz, Nivaaz, and Anziva is just an anagram of his name, and it sounded cool. And when we
It
did
does.
that, and it was not taken as a pharmaceutical company, and that's the reason we chose that name, and I think that's close to my heart. That it's my something to do with my son's name, so that's what the meaning is.
So let's start from the beginning. How you started venturing in your own startup? What led you there?
Right. The startup idea, like I said, was inculcated during my PhD days itself. I wanted to start a company, but it's not the easiest to start a company when you're on an international student visa. Getting grants and even getting registered is not the easiest when you're on an international student visa. So that's the reason I had joined Teva. One of the reasons I joined Teva is to secure my, citizenship and all those things, so I can eventually work on my startup.
Yeah.
But when you're working for a large pharmaceutical company, they pay you well, bonuses and paid time offs, and just 9 to 5 schedule and getting paid biweekly. It's I guess I got lazy over the years. But last year, April, I finally decided to leave the company It's due to the site closure that the company did, and they asked me to relocate within, which I said no. So that was my last straw, I would say, to finally leave that corporate role and see if I want to still pursue whatever little fire I had with that, and to get it back into the entrepreneurial side and see if I can start a company. And that's what led me to start Anziva.
And what are you focusing in Anziva? Where do you want to go with this company?
Anziva, in a nutshell, is a formulation development company.
Yeah.
It's what we want to focus on is 505(b)(2)s. And for those in the audience who do not know what 505(b)(2)s are, they're basically new therapeutic entities. Like, for example, let's say if there is a tablet that a patient needs to take
Yeah.
3 times a day for several days or months.
Mhm.
What we do is we change that tablet into, let's say if I do change that tablet into once a week tablet, just a single tablet that the patient has to take for an entire week,
Yeah.
and they're good to go. So that's a new therapeutic entity. So it's based on what's existing in the market, but it's much better in terms of its performance. And we are doing on similar lines. What we are focusing on right now at Anziva is developing non-opioid pain relief
Okay.
therapies. So pain relief is our focus, but the dosage or drug that we are using or drugs that we are using are not non-opioid for obvious reasons. And the dosage form that we are focusing on right now are transdermal patches.
Okay.
So my last 5 years or so at Teva, my experience was mainly with topicals and transdermal patches. And I've seen tremendous promise in that area. So if you look at the market size, general market scope, about 95% or 90 to 95% are tablets, and everything else is very little left. But a lot of that's left is due to lack of understanding of those dosage forms or complexity in developing those dosage forms. But they are promising. And that's what I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years at Teva, that the transdermal patches have a lot of better qualities than just tablets in terms of localized action and safety to the patient and targeted delivery and all those things, and extended delivery as well. So that's why we want to develop these transdermal patches at Teva. And like I said, we are in this non-opioid pain management space. So the first product that we are developing is for chronic back pain.
Okay.
Which is, especially after COVID, a lot of people have chronic back pain.
Yeah, they do.
I think there was a statistics by a CDC saying that almost 25% of Americans have some sort of chronic pain, and majority of them have back pain because of and this number increased extremely after COVID time, because a lot of people were working from home, non-ergonomic conditions. They're like hunched over their laptops or using devices that bother their upper neck or back area or even lower backs. So this area seemed a bit promising. That's why we are pursuing that as our first product. And another product that we are developing is for arthritis-related knee pain. Again, this is also a patch that goes on the knee or just below the knee, and that causes pain relief for the patient. And we are strongly in favor of the body healing itself. And we've seen that multiple times over the years, that body has its way of healing itself.
It does.
It's to aid a little bit, like especially with chronic pain or pain in general. The body knows how to repair itself. The tissues, the tendons, the muscles, they can repair themselves and correct. But what happens is with time, if someone has, let's say, back pain, they sort of strain their back, and there is a reciprocal effect between muscle and nerve pain. So muscle pain causes more nerve pain causes more muscle pain, and it keeps getting worse. So what we are doing is we are sort of developing this product that goes onto the site of action, releases that tension, so the patient can go about, do their work during the day, and the body knows how to correct itself over a period of time. And this is way better way of doing treating chronic pain than popping pills, which can lead to gastric
Yeah.
bleeding or
Mm.
liver toxicity and all those things. So I think that's one of the reasons we are really passionate about this area.
Well, it sounds good. And as you said, the less dosage plus if it is acting locally, so yeah, why not? It is really what we need. So
Absolutely.
if I get this correctly, you have a full-fledged R&D setup?
Yes.
Mm.
So as a startup,
Yeah.
we, at least in the US, have actually there are a lot of centers in India.
Mm.
They're called incubator spaces.
Yeah.
So these incubator spaces offer lab space, wet lab space, office space, and
Mhm.
general guidance to companies. And that's, I think, not many startup founders or many smaller companies do not know about.
Mm.
They always think pharma company is a multi-million-dollar ordeal, which eventually it is. But if you're starting up, there are a lot of resources that are available for
Yeah. Yeah.
young founders or entrepreneurs who want to start something and see if it works. These sort of incubator spaces have um, wet lab spaces which we can use to develop our products.
So are you assembling your own team then for R&D purpose or for any other purposes?
Eventually, yes.
Oh,
So
eventually.
we are less than a year old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
right now it's a one-man team. Yeah, we have a tech who works, but
Mhm.
um, what we're doing is the first step is to secure funding, and that's what we are working towards. So there
Okay.
are different types of funding, and what we are pursuing now is a non-dilutive funding from the
Mhm.
government.
Mhm.
So by doing some initial preliminary work, we have applied for some grants. And once we
Mhm.
secure the grants, then the next step would be building a team around it, around the products that we are intending to commercialize.
Okay. So, similar, tell me this thing. You said you came from a corporate job. It was a multi-million company. So, what difference you feel in yourself, like from leaving from there now to this your own entrepreneurship company? So, what difference you feel inside you?
Uh, One of the biggest differences, like by heart, I'm a scientist.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing for the last 2 decades now. Something to do with science. And when you're working for a large pharmaceutical company, I guess initially as a scientist, maybe 95% of your energy is going towards science, and
Mhm.
that's what you enjoy doing.
Mhm.
And over the years, when you get promoted into a managerial role and directorial role, that percentage keeps going down.
Yeah.
So the science was 95% initially, and now it became like 50% maybe.
Mhm.
One thing I've noticed that coming to an entrepreneurial side as a startup, the science percentage drops significantly because there is a lot more to do in building a company than just science. Science is very important. That's the core of the company, but your attention gets divided into other things.
Yeah.
And that's something that I felt strongly after coming into this sort of role.
Yes.
Because initially, when I was pursuing to get into an entrepreneurial or a company sort of role, starting my own business, is that I would still be focusing heavily on the science, and then other miscellaneous tasks will be uh, or smaller tasks that would be done on the side or in parallel. But seems like they take up so much energy and time
Yeah.
that I'm getting pulled away from the science, which is the core of the company. So yeah, balancing that is something that I quickly felt uh, significantly different than what I was doing before.
No, no, I completely understand because once you have your own company, you are the HR, you are the finance guy, you are the admin, you are everything. So I truly understand that thing.
I
So
sometimes introduce myself as like the founder and CEO and the janitor of Anziva Pharmaceuticals. I'm doing everything.
if that's need to be done, it's need to be done. Yeah, that's how things
It's
work.
important. It's
Yeah, yeah.
extremely important.
So, so what do you do? Well, I mean, to this leadership styles and all. Do you read books? Do you listen podcasts? What are you into?
Uh, a little bit of everything.
Uh-huh.
in order to, I think, become a good leader,
Mhm.
I feel as if I was lucky to have good leaders as my mentors
Mhm.
when I was being trained or even in grad school
Yeah.
days. My professor Abu Sirajuddin, he was from Novartis and he is a great leader. And I tried to basically mimic what those leaders were doing and teaching or
Yeah.
training over the years. And I was lucky enough to have good leaders who I was reporting to at Teva as well. So I think those real life lessons were way more important to me than maybe reading books
Mhm.
or podcasts. Yeah, these are important as well, and these provide a lot of good information and knowledge. But for me, at least, real life mentors were extremely influential in the way I developed myself as a leader.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what I inculcated onto my team as well uh,
Okay.
at Teva and beyond. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, one of the most important things, at least I was taught and I practiced over the years, was that to whoever is reporting to you,
Mhm.
either direct or dotted line, quickly identify their positives.
Yeah.
Every person who you meet has something positive that they offer that can be used for the benefit of the team. So, as a good leader, at least I was trained to quickly identify those positives, acknowledge them, highlight them, and nurture them, and let them know that they are good at that.
Mhm.
And I've seen that once you tell someone they're good at something, which is an honest feedback that you give someone, automatically it sort of triggers a response from them to make themselves better in that area.
Mhm.
And that helps for the better outcome of the team goals, I've seen.
Yeah.
So
This is yeah.
that's something that's very important that I learned and I try to pass along
Mhm.
as many times as I can.
Yeah, no, this is so true. I mean, I have seen it myself as well. When you point someone doing good, doing something really positive, and you praise it, the person in public, he acknowledges that, and you see more of it coming from the same person in that same direction. I
Exactly.
I tried it with kids as well. It works. If you
Yes,
want
absolutely.
them something to do good, you need to tell them that you are doing good in this.
Yeah,
So
it
they
works
do
with kids
really
especially.
remember and they work on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Coming to books, so you said it's a mix. So what kind of books generally do you read? Or it's more of research work you read currently?
I tend to read books which are not research based because my work heavily involves research, literature reading, and um, keeping myself updated as to what the current science is.
Yeah,
So the books that I mainly read are biographies. I absolutely
nice.
love biographies of not just scientists but business leaders and political um, influential people and maybe in art or other music as well.
Mhm.
So biographies is something that I absolutely enjoy reading, and I'm a big fan of audiobooks. So I
Mhm.
always have something going on in my car as well. If I'm not like listening to podcasts or music, books is something that I absolutely enjoy. Biographies mainly.
I have missed this part, Simerdeep. I never read biographies yet, but I have heard about it so much that you should, I mean, one should read it, and there is a lot of learning out of it. I do read books, but somehow I miss to read biographies yet. But there are certain podcasts which read out the biographies books. Sen Parrish is one of the Canadian podcaster who does this show, Knowledge Project, and he also reads a biography of a certain person once a week. Now I know it's powerful. I am lacking there. I have to start reading about it.
A best part is about a good biography is that it's not just highlights the good parts, but
Hmm.
also highlights the bad parts about that person.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So how they learn from their mistakes or how they overcame adversity and all those things is something that you can learn from a lot.
Tell me something about you. You said you're raising funds for your new company. How's your experience so far? I mean, what do or whatever whomever you are pitching, what they expect out of you? How is that experience?
Um, it's a two-part question. So I'll talk about like the fundraising part
Yeah.
itself. Like when you're at a company, um, raising funds can be either non-dilutive or dilutive.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, as a startup, you try and pursue that's non-dilutive. Non-dilutive means the funds that are given by the government mainly
Mm-hmm.
to advance science, and they do not take a percentage out of your company.
Yeah.
So initially, that's what the mindset is. But where growth and acceleration in a company is from dilutive funding. So you get fundings from either angel investors or
Yeah.
friends and family or VCs, which pump money into the company, and that sort of accelerates your progress much faster.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of pitching about companies, again, as scientists, we love information, we love data, we love making things technical, right? That's not what um, the investors are looking for. So you need to make it simple. There's something that my professors used to say at school when we were writing manuscripts, right? They used to say, write as if your grandmother can understand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It should be that simple.
So we used to write in, initially, what my way of writing was to make it more complicated so I look smarter.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's not the way to go. Actually, it's the better way of writing is to make it simple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what you do in pitching as well, that I've realized.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use words or narrate a story which is simple for that other person to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how technically sound they are,
Mm-hmm.
but you can make complicated, complex concept very simple to explain and understand. That's where most of the time you can get your message across much better, and chances of getting funded by those investors much higher. And also, you should have some sort of story to what you're doing, mainly why are you doing,
Yeah.
how are you doing, and what are you doing. So if you cannot tell a story, then the person gets lost. Even if it's, let's say, an 8-slide presentation that you're giving, it's if you cannot convey why you started, what are you doing, and how are you doing it, then if you cannot tell a story, it's a missed opportunity, I would say.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So continuing our discussion, uh, currently I was speaking about the US pharmaceuticals. What innovation currently attracts you in the entire pharmaceutical industry in US?
I I think going back to my roots, solubility enhancement is still, I think, a prevalent problem when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to formulation.
Yeah.
Even though we are developing transdermal patches, which are, in my opinion, a better dosage form
Mm-hmm.
in terms of its targeting and fewer side effects and better performance. Um, I feel that a lot of the drugs are being eliminated from the pipeline because they're not druggable, they're called. They
Mm-hmm.
don't meet the rule of five of physical chemical
Mm-hmm.
properties that an ideal candidate should be like.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of those are eliminated, even though those are good molecules. They can work or they're pharmacologically sound. Just because they don't meet the required physical chemical criteria, they are eliminated.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest reasons, especially in oncology and in a few other fields that we've seen, that is that their solubility rate
Mm-hmm.
or solubility in general in fluids
Mm-hmm.
is low. So if
Oh, yeah.
something does not go in fluid or does not dissolve, it does not penetrate the lining of the GIT or gastrointestinal tract. And if it does not penetrate the gastrointestinal tract, it
Yeah.
does not go in the blood. And if it does not go in the blood, it does not cause the effects that it's supposed to cause. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we've seen that a lot of these molecules, good molecules, are being eliminated from the
Mm-hmm.
pipeline. And there are techniques out there. especially now in 2025 as compared to 20 years ago. There are so many techniques out there which can improve the solubility of such molecules tremendously
Mm-hmm.
to cause the right bioavailability for that
Mm-hmm.
drug or the absorption, distribution,
Yeah.
metabolism,
Right.
elimination response. So I feel like this is still a very strong field that we can
Mm-hmm.
contribute in.
Mm-hmm.
And us at Anziva, we obviously are a product company of 505(b)(2, coming up with non-opioid pain management therapies. And the two products that we have are transdermal patches. But on the side, we also do some consulting work as well
Mm-hmm.
for
Okay.
companies.
Mm-hmm.
Since this is my background and something that I'm passionate about is solubility enhancement, I think that
Mm-hmm.
that will be a problem for many decades to come
Yeah.
for the drugs that are being discovered in various fields, not only oncology or cancer, but in other fields as well. So I feel like to maximize what a formulation can do for such products or such drugs uh, is something that I'm passionate about and I'm hoping to work on more in the future.
And speaking about US markets, Simerdeep, currently, what is your take on the tariff situation going on with the generics and with India and US? What do you feel where it's going?
See, with the tariffs, it in pharmaceuticals especially, a lot of the times the tariffs impact more for the finished product.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it impacts less on the finished product,
Mhm.
I feel like. Um, and it impacts more on the, for example, the drug itself or the excipients or the technology or let's say the packaging that comes from India or China or any other countries.
Mhm.
So tariffs, yes, they have a big impact on a lot of different industries, and it does have an impact on pharmaceuticals as well. But over the years, we've seen that, and especially in the last few months, because of the change of government and what's happening, this has come in more in light that the end products may not have as much impact as the API or excipients, which
Mhm.
can be plus or minus for the pharmaceutical industry here in the US because most of the APIs or active pharmaceutical ingredients, which are also the drugs and the excipients and packaging and all those things, are sourced from India and China and all those countries as well.
Mhm.
So I feel like, in a way, we want to bring in manufacturing in the US for such products, but if you're sourcing uh, raw materials which have higher tariffs, that actually defeats the purpose.
Going back to Teva, I have one question for you. So you have worked in a big company. Now, how do you think your decision making or innovation will it be different from where was it in Teva and where in a startup? The decision making will be different, the innovation will be different.
Absolutely. The decision making would be at a Teva or a much larger corporate is a bigger team effort.
Mm.
That is, the benefits and blame are divided between a larger team. As compared to a startup, as my own company, decision making is much more risky, I would say.
Yeah.
So I can afford to take bolder decisions that can lead to faster development of products, but the failure rate is high as well.
Yeah.
So that's what the decision making comparison is between is that's
Mm.
in between a larger team or a larger company as compared to a startup where I'm the sole decision maker
Yeah.
or one of the very few decision makers in a startup.
Probably the impact will be more. Say one decision goes wrong in a startup, the impact is far more than if it happens in a big company.
Right, and that's about mindset as well. Yeah, obviously things go wrong,
Yeah, absolutely.
but if you can quickly pivot, change directions, and still move the product forward or change your strategy, that's something that a smaller company can do better
Mhm.
because they're more nimble as compared to larger companies. Because larger companies have talent, no doubt. They have like world-class talent, companies like Teva even. But it's much difficult to ship or steer a much larger ship than a smaller boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can go much faster, much further, much quicker on smaller projects than these larger companies.
Yeah. Last question, Simardeep. So basically, let's divide it in two. What message would you like to give to the young people first who are, say, coming to this technical field, they may be joining towards the graduation or post-graduation in pharmaceutical? And second message towards them who are thinking of starting a startup in the same field.
I think I'll give one message to both of those sort of people. Either they are starting as grad school or getting into the industry or changing careers or starting a company. Is at least in my experience, I've repeated this mantra a lot that failure is okay, or failure is better than precision.
Mhm.
If you try to do everything right, a
Mhm.
lot of the times you don't take decisions and move forward. It's
Mhm.
okay to fail,
Mhm.
but do something. Try something new, is what I would say. It's okay to fail. And if you're intelligent enough, and I'm sure most people are, you can figure out a better way to do things or learn from that failure
Yeah.
and do it better the next time. And being in the startup, I'm pretty sure and I'm very open to this idea that I will be failing a lot. But that's okay. At least I'm trying something new.
Yeah.
But don't be stuck up in the mindset that you need to be come up with the most perfect product or the
Mhm.
most perfect test or the most perfect type of job that you want to do and not
Mhm.
try anything new. That's what the message I will give
Yeah,
to
that's
young people. At least what I
powerful.
would say to
Yeah.
myself if I was younger and starting all over again.
No, that's a powerful message, Madhu. Because so I'm guessing even the team who would be soon joining your company, if the same message is for them as well. So there are a lot to learn. Even so, if there is a failure, also there is a lot to learn. So yeah, it's necessary that way. Good. So Simarjit, thank you so much for joining. It was pleasure knowing you, knowing your experience, knowing your company and the future. Thank you so much for joining and best of
Thank you
luck
for having
for
me.
your
And
startup.
I absolutely love your title of your podcast, Laughing Over LabCoat. I think it's one of the most innovative way of bringing the scientific community together. And I think it'll be a big hit.
Thank you, Samadhi. Thank
Waiting for
you.
you.
Thank you. So I